Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be around the world, and welcome to another Solid Academy live stream. It is the time of the month where we look at the WordPress news, roughly the middle of every month. We take a look across the world of WordPress and bring you the top news stories that I think are the most important to those of us that are doing client work with WordPress. And so we have a lot to talk about today. If you're just joining us in Zoom, open up the chat and let us know you are here. Say hi, tell us where you're logging in from. And you'll also find there the link to download today's slides. If you're watching this on the replay, you'll find the slide link just below the video with the download slides link. So grab those. It's especially important here with News Roundup because we do link all the source URLs for all we're talking about down there in the footer. You can click those and read more if you'd like. So let's get started, shall we, with our first little bit of news, which is our summary of the recent unpleasantness in WordPress, the elephant in the room, shall we say. And while we don't want to go deep into all of this, my goal in this segment, as I explained last month when we started this, is simply to give you an overview of what I think are maybe the most important or perhaps interesting developments in this ongoing battle between Matt Mullenweg, WordPress, and WP Engine. So first out of the gate in this corner is Matt and Automatic have asked the court to dismiss WP Engine's lawsuit. That happened a couple of weeks ago. In that document, which is available online, you can read the full PDF of all of these court filings. Matt argues that WP Engine is conjuring claims out of legal thin air. Further alleges it continues to use the WordPress trademark in unauthorized ways, and he has asked for dismissal, which, by the way, is just a standard operating procedure for basically any lawsuit like this that goes in. The hearing to dismiss is scheduled for March the 6th in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. Now, in the meantime, that same court has granted WordPress, WP Engine's request for an expedited hearing. So WP Engine requested that the court move up the hearing. This is a different hearing. They had asked for a hearing for injunctive relief, meaning, look, we got to stop this. We're being done harm. They claim in their brief that they are receiving immediate and irreparable harm at the hands of Matt Mullenweg. They cited a 14% increase in cancellation requests following all of the hullabaloo that's happened since WordCamp US. The court granted that request, and they've moved up the first hearing for 2 weeks from today. So November 26th at 10:30 a.m., this hearing will take place in the district, the California district courtroom. So that will be interesting to see. Now, as all of these things are coming to light, this is perhaps one of the things that caused the most reaction among the WordPress community. In this article with The Verge, Matt Mullenweg explains that WordPress.org belongs to him personally. Now, this was a revelation to me and many longtime community members who just assumed that WordPress.org belonged to the WordPress Foundation. It doesn't. It is a privately held piece of property by Matt Mullenweg. So he asserts that WordPress.org has always belonged to him personally. It is not part of the WordPress Foundation. And while the WordPress Foundation holds the trademark for protective purposes, WordPress.org remains under his personal control, which means that how many percent of the internet is getting their updates through a website that is owned by one person? So that was a bit of a revelation, and it's caused some shock throughout the WordPress community. Delicious Brains, which is a WordPress engine owned company, have announced that they have now been blocked from the WordPress.org plugin repository. That was bound to happen. They ask their users to perform a one-time manual upgrade of their plugins to continue receiving updates. So some of the more popular Delicious Brains plugins, although they have many, you might find that you use Better Search Replace. We certainly do. WP Migrate and WP Offload Media. There are several others that are very popular. And so you'll need, if you're going to use these plugins and you want them still to update from the developers of Delicious Brains, you'll need to go to their website. Here's a link here. and you can download the plugins directly from them. After that one-time manual update, they will update from the Delicious Brains / WP Engine servers rather than WordPress.org. WP Engine has changed the update mechanism for all of its themes and plugins that were previously hosted on WordPress.org. Of course, we covered last month that all WP Engine servers have been blocked from running theme and plugin updates via WordPress.org. So all the free themes and plugins that WP Engine owns, such as ACF, Better Search Replace, Nitro Pack, WP Migrate Lite, Offload Media Lite, Offload SES Lite, all these plugins, some of those are Delicious Brains plugins, all of those are now updating from WP Engine, and that one-time manual installation is needed. Now, why is that needed? Because in the plugin guidelines, you cannot host a theme or a plugin on WordPress.org that updates from a location outside of WordPress.org. Now, in general, that's a pretty good policy. If you're getting a plugin from WordPress.org, it should update from there. So in order to break out of that, you have to download a plugin that updates from elsewhere, and that updated plugin can't come from WordPress.org. So these one-time manual updates are needed. Now, if you are hosting on WP Engine or Flywheel, which is also a WP Engine property, this is all taken care of for you. You don't have to worry about that. Another big development has been, well, a couple of developments centering around major WordPress plugins and developers. So Paid Memberships Pro, which is an excellent WordPress membership plugin, one of the originals, has a great team of very WordPress committed folks, has announced its departure from the WordPress.org plugin directory. They cited conflicts with WordPress leadership over guidelines and plugin control, which, look, you've got examples already of large WordPress plugins around which is built an economic ecosystem that funds the salaries of real people and takes care of their families. These plugins have been banned or taken over in the WordPress plugin directory. And so Paid Memberships Pro is one of, I think, many, it's going to happen, where they're going to pull their plugins from the repository. So they will now manage updates directly from its own server. So if you are a user of Paid Memberships Pro, you should go out, if you haven't already, they should have contacted you about this. You need to go out and download the plugin, again, directly from Paid Memberships Pro, so that it will in the future receive updates from the PMP servers rather than from WordPress.org. Now, after Paid Membership Pro announced its departure, the co-owner and CEO, Jason Coleman, received a threatening direct message in the official WordPress Slack from Matt Mullenweg, who said he wrote that he would take over your listing and make it a community plugin like we did to ACF. The repository, which is an email newsletter in the WordPress space, independently verified that the Slack conversation did take place. So lots going on there. And likely as agency owners, what we're going to have to deal with this part of the issue is probably many of the plugins that we rely on that have a big ecosystem built around them. Many of them may follow suit and leave the .org directory. So we'll just have to watch that and make sure that we're updating from the correct source. This was a bit of sad news. Scott Kingsley Clark has lost access to the Pods plugin. So on October the 13th, Clark stated his intent to no longer be affiliated with WordPress Core. Now, he was a key member of the team that was working on the Core Fields API project. I talked to him about this at WordCamp US, and he was incredibly excited about some of the progress that they have made. So on October the 13th, as a result of all of the recent unpleasantness, Scott decided to step away from the project. A few days later, on October 17th, his WordPress.org account was banned, which made him unable to access the Pods project. So they went through a process, and thankfully, the ownership of the plugin on WordPress.org was transferred to Jory Hagaveen, who is a longtime developer in the project. So the Pods project is currently safe. There's a longtime developer on the project who now is the official owner of the project on WordPress.org, but this is another one that could have gone south pretty quick. Now, in the light of all of this, a new project has been launched called Aspire Press. It has been launched to build an alternate theme and plugin update directory to take the place, if you want, of WordPress.org. So their goal is a package mirror to freely distribute plugins and themes to WordPress users, no matter who or where they are. There's a recent blog post on their site titled, "If WordPress.org is not for the community, then we will be." So it's yet to be seen, is this going to actually happen? Or, is there enough resources behind this? I mean, imagine the server resources that are needed to power WordPress.org. And currently that's being apparently paid for by Matt Mullenweg personally, because it's his project. I don't know. I'm not sure how that all works. And I don't know how an independent directory could work. So definitely one to watch. Take a look at aspirepress.org and learn more. Now, in the middle of all of this, Matt Mullenweg did speak at the TechCrunch Disrupt event on October the 30th. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Disrupt is a major tech conference, especially focused around startups, where industry leaders come together and talk about what they're doing. And there's some talks given by, leading thinkers in the area and so forth. Matt was a late addition to the roster, and in his talk, he argued that the WordPress Foundation's trademark must be defended to prevent further misuse. He also promised that Automattic is well prepared for a lengthy legal process, and that he has support from notable figures and from his board members. Now, as a result of all of that, the recent unpleasantness here in WordPress has made it into the mainstream media. The BBC has reported on the ongoing saga. Their article focuses on how uncertainty is making it increasingly difficult for solopreneurs and agencies to conduct business. Mainstream coverage like this makes it more likely that your clients may start asking about the issues. And so probably you should be ready with an answer. Also, Automattic has launched a controversial website called WordPressEngineTracker.com, which lists WP Engine customer departures and hosting information. The site provides a downloadable list of current WP Engine customers, which has raised privacy concerns among some community members. They've questioned the purpose and the appropriateness of the website. A whole bunch of links there if you want to read more about that. In a weird little twist, over the weekend, Cloudflare temporarily blocked the WordPressEngineTracker.com site. It had a suspected phishing warning up there, 403 forbidden error. Community members questioned whether phishing reports were legitimate or retaliatory. Like who? Surely not. The tracker site resumed operation a few hours later. And then a protest site has also been launched called WPEngineTracker.com. It's just, it goes on and on and on. Now, this begs the question, how does Automattic know which websites are hosted on WP Engine? And it has to do with the information that you may not realize is being sent to WordPress.org every time you connect to that site for theme and plugin updates via the WordPress.org API. There's a lot of information there, which is raising questions about privacy among some community members. If you want to get into this, there's a great X thread from Dwayne Story, a WordPress developer, linked there in the footer. It's really, really interesting. As a result of all of this, of course, core WordPress contributors are expressing significant concerns about project leadership. Multiple contributors are reporting fear of career repercussions for voicing disagreement with the direction and leadership of the WordPress project. High-profile community members, including Ryan McHugh and several core developers, have stepped back from the project. The project's collaborative spirit is facing challenges due to power and perceived power imbalances. This is perhaps what is the most concerning to me about this whole kerfluffle, right? All this recent unpleasantness. This is what concerns me the most, is that we may be losing key community members who are responsible for much of the innovation in the WordPress space. It's a sad thing. This highlights the risk of WordPress's bus factor of one governance model. There's a great email or link here from the repository email that I would recommend that you take a look at. Okay, that's enough unpleasantness. Let's get into developments in core WordPress. WordPress 6.7 should be dropping anytime now. It normally drops about this time of the day. It will start to drop across your site slowly as they phone home. It is scheduled for today, and I did see in the Make WordPress Slack core channel earlier that everything's on track. So you ought to be seeing those updates popping up anytime now. WordPress 6.7 does include a new default theme called 2025. It is blog focused, and it'll be built around the philosophy that simple things should be easy and intuitive and complex things possible using this new site editor and all of the updates that we've been covering in the Gutenberg plugin here over the last few months. There's a great new little zoom out for site editing to kind of get it in a larger picture where you can do things. It's pretty nice. There are some media file improvements, including support for HEIC images, which can be uploaded and then they'll be converted by the server into JPEGs. There's also better handling of background images. The new preview options API is added and rolled in, which basically makes the WYSIWYG feel of the block editor even more WYSIWYG, which is kind of cool. There is also a refined query loop block, so it knows if it's on a template page and inherits the default template, as it should. There's improvements to the font library, letting you do things simultaneously. There's also an improved control over font size presets, and also fluid typography is going to be supported in core. That's kind of cool. The interactivity API, which allows you to have blocks interact with one another if actions are triggered. It's very developer-y, but it's going to lead to some cool things from developers. And then, of course, several key block improvements. There's also some improvements in block library and patterns with just additional things that are being supported. And we'll be unpacking all of this tomorrow with our own Timothy Jacobs at this same time, 1 o'clock Central Time. Our lead developer of SolidWP, Timothy Jacobs, as he has for the last several WordPress releases, he will walk us through all the new stuff in WordPress 6.7. He'll be there to answer your questions, and that is a free live stream. The link is there at the bottom of the slide, or I'll drop it in once again in the chat. If you haven't signed up for that, join us tomorrow. That's always a good time. The WordPress Foundation has revealed a surge in donations. So they've published board meeting minutes for the first time in 14 years. It reports significant increase in recurring donations after WordCamp US. Current cash balance stands at $264,000, which is a decent increase from the previous year. 48 new recurring donations have been received since WordCamp US. The foundation maintains a $150,000 reserve, even after donating $100,000 to the Internet Archive, which we talked about that last month. With their recent security issues, the WordPress Foundation stepped up to help out. So Meetup.com fees, by the way, the largest single expense of the foundation at $221,000. It's a lot. All right, let's take a look at what's going on in Project Gutenberg. A couple of Gutenberg releases this month. Both of them were minor releases. This is typical as we prepare for a major core version, because what they do is they take all the development that's happened in Gutenberg since the last core release, and they wrap all that up and drop it into core. So the Gutenberg team has been working on that merge process. There are a few additional features as well. A smoother zooming in and out experience, which we'll look at tomorrow. Some other notable changes include setting your preferences for editing. So, do you want to be I've lost the word again. I did this last time. The distraction-free mode or the standard editor or whatever. It's going to remember that now, so that's pretty good. Several other bug fixes. There is another release, Gutenberg 19.6 last week. Again, small release, but with an interesting little experiment. Now, this will not be on by default, but you can activate it by installing the Gutenberg plugin and going to Gutenberg Experiments. And this is a way to add comments on top of blocks. So this, I think, is leading into some of the work that's going to be done in this phase of Gutenberg development, where the collaboration is going to be part of core WordPress. And so here's a neat way just to add some comments on top of blocks. So that's kind of neat. I like the way that looks. All right, let's turn the page and start talking about WordPress security. Pretty typical month, 452 vulnerabilities patched, 567 active vulnerabilities, 15 theme vulnerabilities. This number is only going to increase or stay about the same as researchers continue to uncover existing bugs in themes and plugins. That's why it's so important that you use Solid Security Pro. that allows you to reduce your site's risk to nearly zero with the site scan feature, version management, and patch stack virtual patching. Another big bit of security news, there are fake plugins now that are delivering malware through phony browser updates. So hackers have successfully infiltrated over 6,000 WordPress installs in a coordinated attack that began way back in June. The campaign combines two known attack strategies called ClearFake and ClearFix to distribute info-stealing malware. The attacks they installed deceptively named plugins like WordFence Security Classic or Google SEO Enhancer. These don't exist, but they display, like, if you didn't know any better, you might think they were real. And they display browser update notifications and error messages to unsuspecting visitors. The GoDaddy security team has identified over 20 different malicious plugin variants in this campaign. So this is a thing. And just take a look, make sure you don't have any weird plugins installed in your sites. Very important. All right, let's talk about a few things going on here at Solid. We have a number of free events here at Solid Academy that are coming up. Of course, I've already mentioned Welcome to WordPress 6.7 is tomorrow, 1 o'clock Central Time. We've added a couple of new ones here in the last week. First, Ask the Expert about WordPress security backups and site maintenance. That is scheduled for November the 25th. That is the Monday of Thanksgiving week here in the U.S. And in that, I will not be present for that one, but David Johnson will be hosting that webinar along with Timothy Jacobs. And it's basically ask Timothy anything you want about WordPress security, backup, site management. That's going to be a really interesting opportunity for you if you want to talk to the pros. Also, I'll be hosting this one, Virtual Patching, Instantly Fix Vulnerable Plugins. This is with Oliver Sild of PatchStack. So if you've never met Oliver or seen him talk, he is an interesting guy, and he'll be talking all about how virtual patching works with PatchStack and Solid Security. That's coming up the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, November the 26th. Of course, our regular plugin roundup scheduled for December the 3rd, and the best of the last 6 months, July through December, on December the 4th. In case you missed it, we had a couple of really good live streams over the past couple of weeks. Jen Harries was with us for Recipe for Accessibility, talking about very smart ways to build accessibly on your website. Jen is, of course, an accessibility expert. Also, we had Brian Rothstein talking about pricing models. So if you are an agency owner, you work with clients in any way where you do pricing, that's definitely one to go back and watch. They are all in our live stream directory on the Academy site, or just click one of those links in the footer of this slide. For members of Solid Academy, next week is Course Week. We'll be talking about creating your starter site for 2024. This is the 5th or the 6th year we've done this. It's always a lot of fun as we build out our starter sites for the coming year. That is next Tuesday and Wednesday from 1 to 3 each day. And part 2 of that course scheduled for December 17th and 18th. Of course, also for members, every Thursday you can join me 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time for office hours. Ask me anything. That's always a lot of fun. And if you want to become a member of Solid Academy, all you need is a single site license of the Solid Suite. It's as low as $199 a year. I bet you there's going to be a good Black Friday discount on that as well. So just any single Solid Security membership at all gets you access to all the premium training we do here on Solid Academy. Let's talk about news from plugins. This is an important one. WooCommerce 9.4 has been released, but it is not stable. It was released yesterday officially, but do not update this plugin yet. I don't know. Chris and I had a conversation earlier. Why was this released if it wasn't stable? I don't know. It may have been released and they found it had a big uh-oh and realized there was a problem. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but they say on the developer blog, do not update this yet. There's some internal testing revealed some issues that will be fixed in an upcoming 9.4.1. There are, however, some very interesting add-ons in WooCommerce 9.4 that I want to talk about. The product collection block, for one, has been improved. It's only going to render if it contains product. So, for example, here's a section. This is a product collection block, top-rated products under $1. Well, it used to do this. If there were no results found, it would just say no results found. That's a terrible experience on a website. So now if there's no results found, it simply does not appear, which that's pretty cool. That's a nice little addition for a core block. The product details block also has a new feature where you can disable the large title underneath a tab with a simple toggle. So right here, notice this description. It'd be the same for additional information and reviews. You simply toggle that off and it will disappear if you don't want it. They've also made some improvements on the express checkout feature to cause the payment methods to appear like they will live right there in the editor. That's pretty good. They've also added a bunch of other customization options to make this express checkout even better than it already is. It's a pretty good addition to WooCommerce. Also, searching for WooCommerce extensions has been improved. They've added this new design to the extensions tab. It's a lot better than it used to be. But just remember, this is not to be updated yet. These are great features, but do not update your WooCommerce sites yet until at least WooCommerce 7.4.1 has been released. This is another interesting bit of plugin news. Maybe you've seen it. There's a new community platform plugin coming soon. The WPManageNinja team, that's the group behind the Fluent plugins, has announced FluentCommunity. So now there's another really good, it appears, option besides BuddyPress and BuddyBoss if you want to create an online community. Here's a quick preview. That just looks great. I love the clean look here. It also includes course management. So this makes it great for coaches and other people who want to have courses built into their community. And this is the killers. If you've ever dealt with BuddyBoss, BuddyPress, any of this stuff, you know that the media library gets gigantic because people update it, uploading GIFs and pictures and all that goes into the WordPress media library. So included in FluentCommunity is offsite media storage. So you can store media on your local server, on Cloudflare's R2 or Amazon's S3, and that's built into the plugins. That's pretty cool. It does not require any other Fluent plugins to operate, though I'm sure you can integrate with those pretty well. It includes a directory, community tools, and a whole lot more. There's a wait list you can sign up for now at fluentcommunity.co. I think that's pretty darn cool. If you missed it, there is a new Woo logo coming in 2025. They are ditching that should say speech bubble, but they're keeping the signature purple. Look at the animation here. It's really cool. There are 2 dots under the W. Yeah, so it looks like a shopping cart. I think that's cool. All righty, let us move on to some AI news. If you haven't seen it yet, there is a really cool tool out called WordPress Studio. It's a local development tool created by WordPress.com, but it doesn't have to work with WordPress.com. You can just use it to develop locally. But that's been out for a little while. Earlier this year, I think maybe February, they launched that. But they've just added a new tool inside of WordPress Studio called Studio Assistant. Now, this is an AI-powered tool that's supported within WordPress Studio. This free tool, it is free, responds in multiple languages, makes it easier for folks who don't speak English to use a tool like this. You can execute complex WP CLI commands through the Studio Assistant interface. You do have to have you have to have a login to WordPress.com. It can be a free login, but you still have to have a WordPress.com login in order to access Studio Assistant. It offers a one-click file access. Basically, you can just search and it's going to pull everything up right there for you in the Studio chat. It has context-aware AI suggestions. It can help you with content generation, code generation. It's pretty neat. So give this a try if you got an afternoon to play around with something. That is Studio Assistant. Just download WordPress Studio. It's built right in. Pretty cool. ChatGPT has also launched an addition that we've been talking about for a little while, and that is SearchGPT. SearchGPT brings real-time search into the ChatGPT interface. Maybe you've seen it. If you ask a question, it will often say searching the web now, and it will actually show you the links right there in the ChatGPT interface. I really like this. I think it's a lot easier to search through SearchGPT than just even a Google search, because it can be like a conversational context. And it does provide the backlinks if you want to go and read more as well. So they've partnered with established news organizations like Reuters to provide reliable information. And publishers can use UTM codes to track what traffic is coming in through ChatGPT, which is kind of nice. There's also an official ChatGPT search Chrome extension that will change the default Chrome search engine to ChatGPT. So you might want to give that a try. It's pretty neat. ChatGPT has also begun rolling out what it's calling Canvas. Now, Canvas is a new interface that makes working with GPT 4o even more amazing, particularly with content generation. So if you've played with this before, it basically gives you two panes and you have a conversation happening here, and then the output stays put right there, and it kind of gets updated as the conversation is flowing. This is really helpful because you can, edit the live content view and still interact in the conversation. It's pretty neat. So this only works in the web version of ChatGPT. It does not work in the app version. But I got to say, code editing with Canvas is kind of a dumpster fire. It's kind of a mess. I'm certain that's going to improve, and it would certainly be nice to be able to edit code with your static code here in a conversation beside it. I've just not had good luck with that so far. That maybe says something more about me than ChatGPT. We'll see. But it has not worked well for me, but I'm still trying it every now and then to see if it gets better. ChatGPT has written a check for a new vanity domain. So they have now acquired chat.com. So go to chat.com and it redirects you to ChatGPT services. It was previously purchased by HubSpot CTO for $15.5 million. That's an expensive domain name. So Dharmesh Shah, who was the HubSpot CTO, accepted OpenAI shares rather than cash, which sounds like a good deal for him. Yeah, so that's out there now. The original domain owner purchased it believing chat-based user experiences are the future, and he was right. Both ChatGPT and chat.com now direct users right into the OpenAI chat. Chat.com used to belong to CNET, which is weird, back 2001. A few other bits of AI news. What is AI going to look like in 2030? There's an interesting article there on the Wall Street Journal. I enjoyed that article. You might want to read that. If you've ever experienced ChatGPT or other AI tools hallucinating, this is a really interesting unpacking of what's going on there. It's actually not making up things out of thin air. There's a reason it happens, and this article on the next web can let you know more about that. So if you want to learn more about AI hallucinations, there you go. One little bit of SEO news this month. Google has set new URL formatting rules. So they've now standardized their recommendations for URL parameter formatting in their documentation. So equal signs and ampersands are now recommended as parameter separators in those really long, gnarly URLs. So non-standard separators like colons and brackets and commas should now be avoided. This update to their documentation consolidates rules that were scattered about through the Google sphere in various documents. It's now all in one spot. You can read more about that on the searchenginejournal.com. All right, let's take a look at some other news. This is stuff that didn't fit anywhere else. Our friends over at Cadence have introduced a new modern template for business. It's really nice. Cadence has launched Cloud Sprout, which is a business-focused Cadence starter template. It uses the bento grid design and dark mode aesthetics to make a really beautiful website. I really like this one. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm drawn to this sort of design. So it's that, the gridded bento box approach, multiple different styles. You can quickly, like with anything Cadence, click and change your colors and settings. Lots of different canned pages here with some nice designs across the board. Nice job, the folks over at Cadence on that. 1,000 block themes have been created in 1,000 days. So the WordPress community has created 1,000 block themes in the first 1,000 days of the block editor or the site editor being available. First introduced in WordPress 5.9, those block themes have steadily evolved. Take a look at the whole list of those there at the WordPress.org blog post in the link. This is big news. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission has simplified the subscription cancellation process. Maybe you heard about this. This is great news. The days of forcing customers into complicated click sequences and buttons that don't look like buttons and making it complicated to cancel subscriptions, those days may be over. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission has adopted a new rule requiring companies to provide a straightforward subscription cancellation process. The process, as a rule of thumb, must be as easy to leave as it is to join the subscription. So businesses will now need explicit customer consent before charging any subscription renewals. This regulation covers a wide spectrum of subscriptions, from gym memberships to digital subscription services like Amazon and Adobe. Companies have 180 days to comply with these regulations. So that'll push it out to April, May timeframe for it actually being real across the US. Now, what does this mean for us? Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer, but basically my takeaway from this is the big thing is the cancellation process has to match the sign-up process. So if you offer subscriptions in your agency where you're selling WordPress management services, for example, to your clients, you need to be careful about this because you could fall under this rule. If you offer online sign-up for care plans, you have to offer online cancellation. Like the method of signing up must match the method of cancellation. But if your sign-up process involves interaction with the person at your agency, like mine does, the cancellation process can also require interaction, but you must respond promptly, the regulation says. Of course, it doesn't define what promptly actually means, but just a few things to think about. This is a really interesting bit of news. Notion, which is a information management app, which we just love in my agency. Notion is making a super customizable email app. So they've announced the development of a highly customizable email app launching sometime next year. It's going to integrate Notion AI for automated email organization and response drafting. Users will be able to create personalized inbox layouts or views similar to other Notion tools. Now, it's going to initially support the Google world with iOS and Android versions of the app. AI features are going to include automatic meeting scheduling through integration with the Notion calendar. One-click snippets will allow quick generation of personalized email responses. And look, they're trying to become the all-in-one productivity solution for businesses. So here's a glimpse of what the demo sort of looks like. Nice little mouse overs of each of the items in the inbox. Create a custom view here where we can filter things out by the type of email it is. And here we can make this, add another tag here. Let's change this to coffee chats. And there it is. And there's a quick little button to do a response. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Google has also created a photo trust feature. Now, this is some guardrails around AI-generated images. Google Photos is going to introduce this new transparency feature where in the Photos app, it will clearly display when generative AI tools like Magic Editor, Google's tool, were used. So metadata is being added to the photos to track these modifications. Images combining multiple photos like their best take feature are going to be specifically labeled. Now, the AI info is going to be visible in image details across both the web and the mobile app platform. Google acknowledges, look, it's metadata, which means you can strip it out, but they're trying to do something, which is good. Tools like Magic Eraser and Zoom Enhance will automatically include the AI editing indicator. So right down there at the bottom, edited with Google AI. That's what it's going to look like. All right. It is already Black Friday time, and there is a growing list of places where deals are being aggregated. Here's a few. Our friends at the admin bar have BF, like blackfriday.theadminbar.com. The WPweekly.com/Black Friday deals. And of course, WP Beginner always has a big list there. So take a look at those if you want to spend some fun money. WP Awards is also happening now. Voting is live and continuing through November 22nd. Submit your votes for your favorite WordPress products or services. And of course, vote for Solid Academy as your favorite learning community. All right, let's flip the page to some news that's worth a look. Just a few extra things as we're starting to wrap up here. Have you explored fluid typography? If you haven't, wow, it's cool. It's no more the breakpoints of large, small, medium that we're used to. Fluid typography gradually changes the font size as the screen narrows, and it just makes things look better. So there's a great tool there at fluidtypography.com you might want to check out. Also, by the way, we will be talking about fluid typography in the second part of the starter site course, which will happen in December. It's probably going to be at least an hour of that course. If you are hosting on cPanel and you have huge files there that are making your backups very large, there's a great article on WP Shout on finding and removing those large files hidden inside of cPanel hosting. If you're wanting to make your colors more accessible, there's a tool here called inclusivecolors.com. Bit of a learning curve on using it, but it's pretty cool and does help create a nice inclusive color palette. And finally, if you're a Google Calendar user, they are finally refreshing the look. It's been a while since the Google Calendar views were refreshed. And there's even a nice new dark mode that's coming. Check out that article on The Verge if you want to see screenshots. All right, let's talk about a little bit of news from the WordPress community as we're starting to wrap up here. First of all, a new code of conduct change was published a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. The WordPress community code of conduct has been updated to prohibit the sharing of private messages without consent. Now, this is just a good rule. Don't take screenshots of my DMs and publish them. They weren't meant to be public. They shouldn't be made public. However, the environment in which all of this is happening does cause some folks to raise some eyebrows. So this all happened because in the post status Slack, some screenshots of WordPress Slack messages were posted relating to the recent unpleasantness, and that caused a problem. So the community code of conduct has now been updated, which is, but in the middle of all this, like, it's a good idea, but in the middle of all of this, it's caused some community members to raise concern over the timing of all of this. Some have questioned the lack of public discussion before it was happened. And there's been some notable departures recently from the incident response team, which is the group the group of volunteers in WordPress community that receives complaints, code of conduct violation complaints, and then deals with them. So I don't know. It's just more overflow from the recent unpleasantness. Also, WordCamp Sydney was disrupted by the WP Engine ban. So WordCamp Sydney, of course, in Australia, was the first WordCamp impacted by these new WP Engine restrictions, which ban WP Engine from sponsoring WordPress events globally and their employees from speaking or organizing official WordPress events. So WordCamp Sydney lost $5,000 in sponsorship from WP Engine since they were not able to participate. WordCamp Central did reimburse that sponsorship money, but they had to juggle the schedule. It was quite a mess. And I feel for those folks because organizing a WordCamp is hard already, much less in the light of the recent unpleasantness. There's also been a pause on swag shipments for events, WordCamps, and meetups. So the WordPress community team has announced a temporary suspension of global swag distribution simply because they don't have the volunteers to manage it. So unfortunately, that's, again, I think more fallout from the recent unpleasantness. Now, in the middle of all of this, there's a great article I think you should read. It is on the Yoast blog by Yoast and Marike. They remind us in this article that the best thing about WordPress in the middle of everything else is still the community. It's not about an organization or a single person. The widespread adoption and success of WordPress is the result of organic community marketing, people talking about it, agencies selling it. It's happened organically with brands and influencers like Yoast and WP Beginner and WP Engine driving its success. The community's role is crucial. Years ago, Matt said, make the pie bigger. Don't fight over pieces of the pie. Work together to make the pie bigger. And that's still good advice. So WordPress influencers and regular users promote their platform authentically. And that speaks a lot louder than corporate marketing. They end the article by reminding us that together we've created something much greater than any one brand or platform alone could achieve. And let's hope that WordPress remains a tool by the people and for the people. I can't agree more. If you want a little uplift, read that article. They did a good job there. A few more major WordCamps are on the horizon. None in the US, by the way, all over in Europe and Asia. WordCamp Romania in Brasov is scheduled for this weekend. WordCamp Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur later this month. WordCamp the Netherlands in The Hague later this month. WordCamp Delhi in India. That should be November 30th through December the 3rd. Sorry about that. And WordCamp Asia in Manila, February the 20th through the 22nd. All right, that brings us to the end of the WordPress news roundup for November 2024. Quickly, I'm going to drop the links back in the chat. If you did not get the chance to download the slide deck, the links are there for you to do that. That'll give you all the links to follow and click and read through any of the articles that we covered today. Also, the link is there to join us tomorrow for that WordPress 6.7 live stream with Timothy Jacobs. That wraps us up for us today. We'll see you back here tomorrow for Welcome to WordPress 6.7 here on Solid Academy, where we go further together.